First Amendment. The First Amendment is like a big promise that you can say what you want, believe in any religion, and gather peacefully with others. It says that the government can't stop you from speaking your mind, practicing your religion, or holding meetings. It also means you can complain to the government if you think something is wrong, and they can't punish you for it. This is important because it lets everyone share their ideas and beliefs freely, which helps people understand each other better and make the country a fairer place. Tell me more. Second Amendment. The Second Amendment gives people the right to own guns. Back when the United States was just starting, the founders thought it was important for people to be able to protect themselves and their country. Today, this amendment is very controversial. Some people believe it means anyone should be able to have guns without many restrictions, while others think there should be more rules about who can own a gun and what types. It's a big topic in politics. Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love. Third Amendment. The Third Amendment says that soldiers cannot just move into someone's house during peacetime without the homeowner agreeing to it. This was made because, back in the old days, British soldiers would stay in American colonists' homes against their will. It doesn't come up much today, but it was very important back then because it protected people's privacy and property. Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment protects you from having the government search your stuff, like your house or backpack, without a good reason. If the police or other officials want to search, they need to convince a judge that they have a strong reason to believe they'll find evidence of a crime. This is to make sure that the government can't just bother people or take their things without just cause. Fifth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment has several important parts. It says you can't be tried for a serious crime without a proper reason. If you're found not guilty, you can't be tried again for the same thing. You don't have to testify against yourself. The government can't take your property without paying for it, and you must be treated fairly by the law. This protects your freedom and your rights if you ever are accused of a crime. Sixth Amendment. The Sixth Amendment guarantees that if you're accused of a crime, you have the right to a quick and public trial, with an impartial jury. This means you don't have to wait a long time to clear your name, and everybody gets to know what's happening. You also have the right to see the evidence against you, to have a lawyer help defend you, and to question any witnesses who are saying things against you. Seventh Amendment. The Seventh Amendment says that if you're involved in a certain type of legal dispute involving more than a small amount of money, you have the right to a trial by jury. This means that a group of regular people from the community will listen to the facts and make a decision, rather than a judge alone. It's about making sure that ordinary citizens can help decide legal issues. Eighth Amendment. The Eighth Amendment protects you from very high fines or cruel punishment if you're found guilty of a crime. It means that punishments should fit the crime and that they shouldn't be harsh or unfair. It's important because it keeps the government from being too harsh and ensures that people are treated with humanity, even if they've done something wrong. Ninth Amendment. The Ninth Amendment is a bit like a safety net. It says just because certain rights are listed in the Constitution, it doesn't mean those are the only rights people have. There are other rights that might not be written down, but people still have them. This amendment is important because it recognizes that our rights aren't limited to just what's listed in the Constitution, and it protects other freedoms that are just as important. 10th Amendment. The 10th Amendment is about the balance of power between the federal government and the states. It says that any powers that the Constitution doesn't specifically give to the federal government belong to the states or to the people. This helps to make sure that not all the power is concentrated in the hands of the national government. States can make their own decisions about lots of things that affect their people. 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment made slavery illegal in the United States. It was passed in 1865, right after the Civil War. This was a huge change because, before this, slavery was allowed in some states, and millions of African Americans were forced to work with no freedom or pay. The amendment is crucial because it helped to start the long process of promoting equal rights in America, which continues to this day. 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment is really powerful and covers several important ideas. First, it says that anyone born in the U.S. is a U.S. citizen and gets equal protection under the law. This was especially important for protecting the rights of freed slaves and their descendants. It also says that states can't unfairly take away a person's life, freedom, or property without following the law. This amendment ensures that all citizens should be treated equally and fairly by the government. 15th Amendment. The 15th Amendment says that a person's race or color, or whether they were once slaves, cannot stop them from voting. Passed in 1870, this amendment aimed to guarantee African American men the right to vote, especially after the Civil War. It was a critical step towards equality, although true voting rights were still a long way off for many, especially in places where laws were made to restrict their voting power. 19th Amendment. The 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote. It was passed in 1920 after a long struggle by activists who worked to ensure that women could participate in elections just like men. Before this amendment, women generally couldn't vote, which meant they had less say in the government. This change helped to move towards more equality and ensured that both men and women could have a voice in politics. 18th Amendment. The 18th Amendment, about banning alcohol, was passed in 1919. It made it illegal to make, sell, or transport alcoholic drinks. It was called Prohibition. However, it led to a lot of unintended problems like illegal alcohol sales and increased crime. Because it didn't work out as planned and caused more issues, it was eventually cancelled by another amendment. 21st Amendment. The 21st Amendment is important because it ended prohibition. It repealed, or undid, the 18th Amendment in 1933. This meant that making, selling, and drinking alcohol was legal again. This amendment shows that sometimes the government tries something big, learns it's not working, and then has to change the laws back. 22nd Amendment. The 22nd Amendment, passed in 1951, says that a person can only be elected President of the United States 2 times. This was in response to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was elected 4 times. This amendment makes sure that no one has too much power for too long and gives more people the chance to be president. 24th Amendment. Passed in 1964, the 24th Amendment made it illegal to require people to pay a poll tax to vote in federal elections. A poll tax was a fee that people had to pay before they could vote, which often stopped poor people, including many African Americans, from voting. This amendment helped make voting more fair and accessible to everyone. 26th Amendment. The 26th Amendment lowered the voting age from 21 to 18. It was passed in 1971 during the Vietnam War, a time when young people argued that if they were old enough to be drafted into the military at 18, they should also be able to vote. This amendment gave younger people a voice in choosing their leaders. 27th Amendment. The 27th Amendment is about how Congress sets its own pay raises. Passed in 1992, it says that any change in their salary won't take effect until after the next election of the House of Representatives. This makes it so that current members of Congress can't just give themselves a pay raise that starts right away, they have to wait until new or re-elected members come in. This helps make sure that lawmakers don't just raise their pay for their own benefit without facing the voters first, providing a check on their power.